this special previously recorded episode of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, you'll have to take a seat and listen to some electric bike talk. You'll see what I mean in a little bit.
Live from Pahrump, this is your favorite motorcycle and motorcycle product related show. But tonight on our early episode, it's not tonight, it's still daylight outside, which is kind of strange for Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. We're going to talk about you and your body, I think. So with us, we have a special guest for Tech Talk Taco Tuesday episode number. Should I avoid giving the episode number because this could go up at any time?
Well, we're broadcasting now, so
we're broadcasting. So it's episode number 173. So this might come in between like 178 and 179. You know how we did like show 50.5 or whatever? Like this. So we have Lyndon Smith, who is more famous for making awesome, super comfortable seats than anybody else I know. But he started a Facebook group. And what did you call it, Lyndon?
It's Moto Fitness for old guys.
Yeah, old guys.
Moto Fitness. There you go.
Moto Fitness, right? Yeah. So that's the way I do. I start a show and I can't even remember the name of my show sometimes.
So it's only 2 days old for me, so it hasn't sunk in yet. So
don't feel bad. So I saw this. It came up, and I'm like, how do they know? You know, this is the weird thing about Facebook. How did Facebook know that I wanted to be part of this group, or did you just notice that I was out of shape and you sent me an invite?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I did send you an invite though.
Oh, yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah. So evidently the last time you saw me, I was eating donuts and drinking Coca-Cola, walking around your shop, getting a tour, right?
Yeah.
Or did you hand me a beer? Because that would have been a lot easier.
It's the PBRs we were sharing at that one rally we were at.
Right. So we, so I saw this pop up, this group pop up, and I'm like, I literally go, I wonder what this is going to be. Cause I've seen these groups kind of, just, jump and grow. And it was a day old and it had 400 and something people in it. And I'm like, wow, that means there's a lot of us guys that are at least out of shape enough to want to pay attention to see what's going on, me included.
Right.
And then I noticed quickly there's a lot of guys that are in really good shape that have some, I think, really good advice. And the only reason I say really good advice is because it's worked for them.
Yeah.
And so I think there's going to be a journey through this group that you have. So what caused what prompted the let's make a group?
Well, my personal journey started about 2 years ago. I got my left knee replaced, and that leads to a lot of sitting around, some physical therapy, but that's not exercise, but make a long story short, I ballooned up to like 305 pounds. And, you don't see very many old 6'4", 305 pound guys walking around, and so I just decided I got to do something about it. And I set a goal. I was going to start racing again and use, that was going to be my carrot to get my ass off the couch and, get motivated and go work out. So I started just watching my diet. I didn't go full keto, but I went like on a low carb style diet, and I lost 40 pounds pretty easily like that. And followed that up. I would just walk around the neighborhood a lot and bicycling. And then I found a gym that's just in my own neighborhood. It's for 50-year-old people. So I joined that, and then things really started happening. So at one point I was down 80 pounds, and I've gained a little bit of that back, but a lot of that's muscle now, which I used to not have any. So that's another benefit there. But the reason I started the group is because I was looking online, and you're always interested am I doing the right thing, or maybe there's somebody out there that knows more than I do, because I really don't know much. I just do what I'm told. And And there was no groups. There was a few groups on Facebook for fitness, but it's mostly bodybuilder guys. And I joined a few of those, and I would ask questions, and oh, just lift more, bro. That was their answer for everything.
So did you have a trainer? And I mean, when you had your knee replaced, did you get a trainer, or did you just go to physical therapy and then just keep going after that?
Well, it's just physical therapy. All they do is just move your leg and make you do basic stuff. You basically learn how to walk again, that type of thing. And so no, I found there's a gym in my town, and there's a it's all one-on-one with a trainer, and he specializes in over 50. And the name of the gym is called 50 Plus Fitness. It's in Nampa, Idaho. So I started going to see Jeremy. I usually see him on average 3 days a week, because my schedule is like I'm always traveling on Fridays and Mondays and stuff like that. So, but I go in there at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4. And but no, he's a wealth of knowledge, but he's not a moto guy either. He's just your we basically do HIIT workouts, which is high intensity training, and it's nice and all, but it's still not moto specific. And we talk all the time, and he wants to learn about moto stuff too, because he's just like me, and realize there's a lot of old guys riding moto. So I think we can all learn something from this,
Yeah, and so in this group, getting the invite for this group and look at it, and I did a kind of a scroll through and reconnected, saw some old, like we were talking, some old friends that haven't seen for a while. I'm like, oh, this person's kind of interesting, because these are, it's been a long time since I've seen, like, Ron Dillon was one of them, right. And he had a couple of real classic photos in there, him with Bob Hanna and stuff. And you think about, but I'm going through there, and a lot of the people that I was seeing in the group are they're definitely, there's some that are extremely fit, or they have really good stories. But you think about it, I mean, I don't feel like, well, I do feel old, but I don't feel old. I don't think I act old, or somehow I feel like I'm 18, but then my body kind of reminds me every once in a while I'm over 50.
Yeah.
So I can see, and I didn't have to go through a knee replacement. My wife just had double knee replacement. And so I'm watching her in her late 40s, go through the knee thing, and with the rehab, and it's amazing what medical stuff is able to do to allow us to do. And it's pretty cool that way.
Yeah. No, it's, they can get you fixed up, but the next step is all on you, and another thing, since I've been working out on a steady basis, I actually gained more mobility with my knee than I got from the physical therapy guy. Like, I got another 10 degrees more movement out of it just since I've been working out. So that was a plus.
So so we all have, as I jokingly said, yeah, you can come on the show and plug Seat Concepts. And speaking of that, this show would not be possible without the help of awesome companies like Seat Concepts. We have the Seat Concepts Hot Seat Hotline, which we are now transitioning over to a Zoom call. So if someone wants to join into the show, they can Zoom in. And I won't be mean to them. I always promise this, but see what happens. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, there's a link in there that you can click on, and we'll screen you a little bit. Matt over here, who creates all the technical problems.
Yeah, if you have audio issues, you're gonna probably just get clipped.
Yeah, so yeah, because at least we could, with the phone, we could kind of tune it up. But back to the sponsors. So Yamaha, Taco Moto, Scott Sports, Climb, DDC was our first sponsor. Delaney Drive Components came in very early. Trail Tech, Fasst Company, Seat Concepts. I did a really good thing today, Lyndon. I took 2 Seat Concept seats off the used market. I have this guy who comes by the house, and he's always has parts to sell. He's an older guy that has a lot of bikes and a lot of parts, and he came over with he has a Sprinter van, or a Ford van. He had 2 really nice, like a 2020 version KTM seat that was not the comfort seat. It was a lower comfort seat, yeah. And then he had like a 2017 tall comfort seat. And basically he wanted a tall comfort seat for his 23. And so he sold all this. I bought a whole bunch of stuff off him. So I bought a whole bunch of stuff off him because he had all kinds of parts. But, just taking stuff off the used market so people have to buy the new stuff. And by the way, that Tenere seat is super awesome. Like foam density. I finally had to do about 150 miles just straight on the freeway without getting off and just hauling ass. And that's the worst. That's the worst riding ever for me.
Right.
But, and I was talking about my butt here, but I didn't have to move and shift around like I usually do. So a good job on that one. By the way, that's the single seat, the solo seat, rally style seat, tall comfort. I think everybody should have one.
Yeah, I think that's for that bike. That's the most popular. I always tell everybody even if you are a little bit on the short side, you got to try that seat because it fixes a lot of the ergos, I think, for the bike too. I
actually, I've lowered my foot pegs down and back just a little bit. So in conjunction, like that taller seat really helps. It just makes it so you're not so cramped up on the bike. And I don't sit down much when I ride, but when I have to sit down, that makes it really nice. And then I don't fall into this pocket. So good job on that. Of course, there's Bulletproof Designs and Double Take Mirrors, all sponsors of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Of course, I'm brought to you by JimmyLewisOffroad.com. Learn to ride, right, Matt?
Yep, Learn to Ride Online.
Yeah,
those online courses still going on. I also have my online boot camp where you can get lifetime access to those Learn to Ride videos, as well as a month's worth of Zoom lessons with me.
Okay, that's it. That's the best deal on the internet right now today. That's good. So speaking of, all this fitness goes in. How much better is the riding? Because I think that's the question everybody wants to know.
Well, it helps. It's not the cure all though. Nothing replaces riding because if you go to the gym for 2 weeks but you haven't ridden in 10 weeks, guess what? The first few minutes on a bike, you're going to be rusty as hell, and also. It's not the same. You're not under the same pressure. You're not, it's not the nerves working on you. It's not, there's a whole lot of things that when the starting gun goes off and the race starts, man, your heart goes to, 180 and stays there, and you can't really duplicate that in the gym. I mean, you just can't. And, but it helps. It definitely helps. But it's still not, nothing's going to replace riding. I mean, if your goal is fitness is one thing. If your goal is to improve your riding is what's going to improve the riding. The fitness will help you ride longer, but it ain't going to improve your riding.
Do you? I mean, I don't know how quickly you were able to drop the weight, but did you feel the weight drop when Because that's the one thing I really notice when I go up 10 pounds or down 10 pounds. I notice this.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's the obvious things like your clothes don't fit anymore, that type of thing. But man, my energy, like I used to dread coming home and working on a bike or doing anything because I just didn't have the energy. Now it's like I'm looking for stuff to do around the house all the time. So it's a life changer for stuff like that. But it just really, and it improves your mood, man. Like if something goes wrong and I was supposed to go to the gym and I couldn't. Like I'm jacked up after that because you need those endorphins or whatever from that workout, and it really improves your mood as well.
That's I can see that. I mean, I know I remember from literally one of the first times I met you to when I think I saw you this summer, I go, wow, it's a noticeable change, but just then also just excitement levels up a little bit. I would say,
yeah,
which is kind of cool. But when we're talking about the riding, and I joke, well, kind of rolling back to when you say that you need to be practicing riding or you need to be riding a lot. That's for sure. You don't lose we call it the base mileage. Believe it or not, I used to be really, really fit when I was racing and I didn't do it always the orthodox way, but I went all the way up to running 100-mile foot race, so an ultra marathon.
Wow.
And that took 4 years of training to get to that point to where I was able to do it and succeed. And they call that training, like base mileage. And there's no way you can really, you can't, I mean, there's certain people who can just hop on and do anything. They can hop on a motorcycle and operate at a pretty high level, or jump on a skateboard and do this. But I think that very few people who just say, I'm going to go run 100 miles and do it, because that wears you out and runs you down to kind of like this thing. But with the base mileage, and we call it in riding, you just hop back on and you get it because you know how to operate the controls. You're pretty good. But I think when you start talking about like losing that edge, that's sort of a higher level rider that what it's like to operate in, kind of the zone, right, the peak zone. And with kind of back to the running long distances, and half the time when you're running those races, well, at least me, I was just trying to finish them. I wasn't really racing them. You feel it just in your stride, how you're, when you're running versus when you're walking, whether it's uphill or downhill, you can feel the slightest incline and you go, hey, I can't go anaerobic here. I've got to kind of keep it down because this is going to burn me out. So yeah. I don't think people think about a lot of that stuff when they're riding, but then they want the instant answer. Like, how do I cure arm pump? How do I not be really sore after, riding my 2 motos or doing my 2-hour Grand Prix or whatever it is? And I don't know if I don't think there's an instant fix. And this is what this group, I think, will help answer.
Yeah. It all takes dedication and hard work. But if you're sore after a Grand Prix, like a Big Six Grand Prix, the only thing that's not going to get you over that plateau is to do more of them. It's the bottom line. Like when I was doing all the vintage motocross we discussed earlier, I got to where I would try to ride as many classes as I could, because even though you might not be super competitive in all of them, but the more you rode, the more the next race you could tell the difference, big time. And it's just time on the bike. Really hones in those, if you're going for those extra 2%, the extra 0.2, if you're riding. But if you're like the average guy is like, hey, I'm gonna jump on my adventure bike and ride up to McCall this weekend through the mountains. Going to the gym and working out, that's going to make that ride a lot more pleasurable. I've been riding with guys just sitting up when they go to stand up and sit down, they get winded after a few miles. And it's like,
well, as in my selfish interest here of running being someone that runs an off-road riding school, I can tell you why, what they're doing to cause this. But when I work with higher level guys and doing training, they're wearing heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
Because if, like you say, when they go and they spike, there's a certain amount of intensity and stuff that racing just brings that it's hard to simulate in practice and training. But I want these guys to be riding as fast as they can at low heart rates and riding in a relaxed state so that they're comfortable. And everybody's, well, why is that? Well, because then they can still kick it up a notch, because there's a certain amount, you want the guy to be riding at 90% that's as fast as everybody else's 100%. And then when if they try to go crazy, there's the ability to kind of still bring it up. And then really, and when you're riding like that, you're aware of a lot more stuff around you. You can feel what the bike's doing. You're paying attention to your body. You notice, hey, why is my heart rate up? And that's what I always ask them, is like, well, why are you doing this? Why is your heart rate up? Like, what's causing it? And you start thinking about it. And so and we talked about this, we were talking earlier today, like, if I go out and ride and I get a workout from riding, like I actually ride hard enough to kind of get that anaerobic, really stress myself, the potential for crashing is kind of high. And so because I ride in a very relaxed state, and like adventure riding, I could ride till I fall asleep on an adventure bike and probably not get muscular tired. Certain things will get sore, depending on what my my current problem is, whether it's my wrist or, my shoulder or elbow or whatever little thing I'm dealing with there. So, and I think, and then this is the other thing I'm hoping that this group starts, going to answer is what little, I don't know how to put it. Like, what little tricks do they have for some of these things? I use vitamin I. That's ibuprofen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anybody over 50 probably has that in their daily diet at this point,
Oh, I don't do it daily. I try to stay away from it because I know it's hard on the digestive stuff. And I've had older friends, much older than me, that were like really using it. Like, they get out of bed and they go pound some vitamin I, and it did horrible things for their insides. But I'm because that stuff it works crazy for me. I mean, it's almost too good is the way I like to put it, but I don't use it that much.
Well, like when you talk about the adventure riding, what happens for me on that is oftentimes I get mentally tired though. Like, you've been in the saddle for 8 hours and your brain's been processing all that data coming at you. You can get I can go into like a fog, and I'm like, man, I gotta pull over and take a nap or something.
Maybe all of my rally training and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, it's so funny because when if you go, like rally, for instance, you're doing so much mental stuff. Yeah. Like, you can ride places you've ridden before and it's a whole new experience. It kind of changes. It changes everything. So just to go riding and exploring without having to do the task of navigation makes that pretty easy. So I guess I have too much motorcycles. Like, if we start talking about, like, if I wanted to do higher level mountain bike stuff, then I would probably just feel pain from the 15th pedal stroke. Well, so that's why I ride an electric bike.
I have a guy I'm helping. I've known him since he's a kid. He's a kid from Florida. I mean, he's 23 now. I met him when he's 6, and he's made it always riding XC2 and GNCC stuff. And he's actually going to see a sports medicine doctor, and they've determined he has a problem processing all the information during a race, and they have him doing all these mental exercises. And I looked at them, and they're pretty crazy. Like, you have to arrange all these things in a certain amount of time. That was one of the exercises, but he goes and sees this guy like three times a month. And he says it's making a big improvement for him, because he was the same thing. And GNCC is 3 hours of hardcore racing. So, halfway through that, he was having trouble concentrating, and this guy's helping him with that. So
interesting. I mean, I can see that. You can see, and I mean, you can see it in different racers that they have certain problems. They'll have, like, no matter what, if it's Supercross, they're going to have this mid-race, fade where it's like for 2 or 3 laps, they're just not there, and then they snap back to it. Yeah. Stuff like this. I know with rally guys, the guys that I really work with, that whether it's eating, it's eating at a certain time, or making sure that they drink, eating at a fuel stop, or making sure they do hydration and different things. I've been riding with guys where you could set a clock on when they bonked. So for some guys it was 45 minutes, other guys it was 2 hours, some guys 3 hours. And you just remember, it's like, oh, this guy, if we don't stop and we go more than 2 hours, he's going to have a meltdown, and mental or physical, or what. It was usually a combination of both. It's that kind of stuff. And my MO was like, I was like a camel. I just had to eat a whole bunch, in the morning, like, or, breakfast or the night before for dinner. And that's why this fasting thing that some of the guys have talked about on the
intermittent fasting
in the group, intermittent fasting. This is no problem for me. I think I just do it naturally. I just, like, when I come to the trough, I just eat and drink, and then I'm good. Cause
I was doing that without even knowing I was doing it. Cause we'll eat dinner around 6:30, and sometimes I won't eat breakfast, and then I won't eat anything till after I go to the gym at noon. And then
Yeah.
So I was actually doing that without even realizing it, So it's
Yeah, the whole no breakfast kick was never anything for me because my stomach wasn't really. I don't think it was always too happy before, if I ate and then went to ride or whatever. So I wouldn't necessarily do that unless I kind of had to. I knew I had to. So like skipping breakfast and just starting at lunch, eating dinner, and then shutting down. Although I tend to just push everything farther and farther, and then I'm eating at night. So which is they say is not good to. Yeah, it's not good to eat at night. I've heard the sound drop a couple times, but
Oh, you have?
yeah.
I've lost you, Jimmy.
All signs are good on our end.
Right.
There we go.
Your internet's we have aliens out here and they fly around and they jam the signal. We're down here in Pahrump. They know I'm giving out good advice, so they're starting to clip my stuff. But yeah, there's all and I don't think it's a one size fits all program. And I went like even last year I did this gut biome test where they checked all my guts and my shit and all the things, and they analyze how you process food, and then they give you special vitamins, with your name on them, and it what was weird with me, I didn't notice anything better, I didn't notice anything worse.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, did it work? I don't know.
Well, my buddy, it's Jesse Ansley, who I'm talking about. He actually got a blood test, and off of that blood test, they determine his diet now as well, like how to eat before a race, after a race, all that. And they tested how his body processes the food he's eating. So they developed a diet off of that for him. So
wow,
this stuff can go. It's crazy how involved it can get if and the stuff I've been doing, man, like I said, I'm just tip of the iceberg. That's the reason I started this group is I want to hear all this stuff, and try to learn from it and then put together, glean information off everybody and see what would work for me or work for you or work for anybody from that.
Yeah. And full disclosure, you're not starting a gym.
No.
not like 6 months now. And we're not going to have a subscription service where it's like Linden's Moto vitamins, right? Because I want to do that now. No, yeah. I'm adverse to making money. So just don't get any ideas from me.
Yeah. No, there's one thing I don't need a whole nother something to try to manage. I tell you that.
All right.
Rough and tough enough, just what we got going.
So Derek Payment has a question. He asks, what do the top level guys do these days to get ready for King of the Motos? And my answer, Derek, is I have no idea. When I was putting on the race, they didn't know whether they were coming or going. They didn't. The thing about when I put on the extreme enduros is I just wanted the guy who was the most versatile, most well-rounded, best all-around rider that could adapt to situations, because just figure it out would be the guy that would win. So I wouldn't tell them exactly, course. They wouldn't know until like the day before. So it wasn't like something they could like train up for. But as you watch with almost any, super high level athletes, they know that, everything's getting so specialized. They know exactly what to do. And, when now you hear about like supercross guys that are adjusting their sleep habits in order to be, get their cycle working for the times when they're racing. You have guys that they simulate everything they do when they're practicing. In other words, they're trying to practice harder than they compete so that the competitions actually become easy. So, but I think that the top level guys they've all got their diets figured out. They've got strength training and doing strength and balance training that was kind of unheard of back in my day. I ran, I rode, and I rode a mountain bike was kind of thing. I did very little strength training because when I did it, I started, kind of bulking up and getting arm pump, or like I would work on some muscles and it would cause other muscles to, I don't know. I just remember doing some kind of upper body strength stuff. And then all of a sudden I started having back problems. and then I was doing some lower body stuff, and so I wasn't doing core. Now what I know looking back, I wasn't doing stuff to strengthen my core. I strengthened my extremities, and my core suffered because you got to realize you're a system. You're an intertwined system. So I think whatever I tell you, whatever the top guys are doing at any of these levels, they're doing it right.
Well, so that's the thing, is that everything starts from your core. When I started at the gym, that was some of the first thing we did, and God, was I veal. You don't realize, but most all exercises originate in the core and work out from there. So even if you're doing upper body stuff, your core has to stabilize your lower body. And if that's weak, man, you're going to struggle for sure. And it's actually doing all this and doing it correctly. That's the big thing, is doing all the exercises correctly. I actually went from having, the typical old guy back's a little sore once in a while, to now it doesn't bother me at all. So we've actually improved that.
Yeah, and that seems like totally backwards from the way when I was younger in my 20s. It was all you're strengthening your arms and your legs, and they forgot about the core. Now it's kind of built from the inside. In fact, when I had my knee surgery, the large part of the recovery was Pilates. And I'm thinking Pilates. I'm thinking, the ladies in the skin tight stuff, and jazzercise. That's what it was. Like jazzercise was kind of. I didn't know what Pilates was, and all of a sudden I'm on this table with these ropes, and I'm kind of pulling like my body weight with ropes, and so to that we have the core. But the other thing I think, especially for guys our age, is stretching.
Yeah,
is pretty huge. And I've known this. I've always kind of been a stretch. I mean, I ran track when I was in high school, and they were always like stretching was really important. So I always did it because I knew it made a difference. And even I have the thing that hangs you upside down in my other room here. So I every once in a while, if I feel compressed, I hang upside down a little bit. People think I sleep like that and I watch TV like that because I'm a little bit weird. But I also have the handholds for rock climbing inside the house here. And so a lot of times I'll just walk up, and just depending on, like I said, disclosure, I'm in probably the worst fitness of my entire life currently. I blame COVID because it's easy, right? But I used to anytime I'd walk through the door to go from the office into the house, I would walk and I'd have to do like 3 pull-ups. And I tell you what, like after your 15th or 20th pull-up, you quit going to the refrigerator because you can't. And now I'm probably down to like 1 or 2 pull-ups. That's how pathetic I am. But now I'll just go up there and I'll reach up and grab it and just stretch, just kind of hang on it for a couple minutes. And you wouldn't think how, and I was having, because right now my nagging injury is golf elbow, not tennis elbow, but golf elbow. Yeah. So the one on the inside. And so I have to, it helps a ton with that, just doing some stretching and articulation with doing that. So,
and the cups of ice rubbing all over it.
Yeah. So I just have frozen water bottles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just take a frozen water bottle and same thing, rub it on there, and then I have a friend who's into the homeopathic stuff, or they'll give me whether it's like castor oil or there's some horse medicine that I've been using on some certain things, the veterinary stuff. And it's not my veterinary friend like just says that's really stupid, but I can see how it would work.
Yeah. So I have some friends that are horse people, and they gave me this salve they put on like on their horse legs and all when they get something like that. Man, it stinks the eye of them, but it works. Like it really works.
Is it Biggle oil?
It's a white cream in a little tin.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. This is actually a clear oil, and then you hear about the other stuff. What's the other stuff that it's a thing that helps it penetrate into the skin. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that, most of it's banned, but I'm not getting drug tested at the races anymore. So I don't have to pass the test. I'm just trying to, trying to keep this unit at a high level of function.
Yeah.
So Sean Elliott would like to know, did you ever push your bike around a track for training? I think he's asking.
Only when it's broken, and you got to get back to the pits.
Yeah, talk to the vintage guy about that. That was probably more common than we thought.
Well,
I never did that for training.
That happened more than he wanted it to. Vintage racing for sure. You know.
Yeah. And he says ride a unicycle for your core. I could see that. That's a high level of balance, but that would definitely do some core strengthening for sure.
Here's the thing, that the more you strengthen your core, though, the better your balance gets. For me, it's been crazy because I could barely walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And now I can stand on one leg and put a sock on the other leg and not topple over. And that was
right.
For me.
One of the we teach in our class, our riding class, it's the things, the most important thing is balance. It's balance and traction. Anything that goes right or wrong is centered around those two things, which it's not rocket science. And the more balance you have, technically, the more traction you have, or if you at least understand the balance, then you'll understand the traction. They very much go hand in hand. And I just watch people when they just go to get on their motorcycle, I can already tell to a certain point how good of a rider that person is. And if someone is like known as being, he's faster or something, and I watch how out of balance they are when they're just sitting still, for instance, just how they get on the bike and how they do things, I go, well, that person could be a much better rider if they would just focus on the balance. And again, it comes down to, core strength and different stuff.
Yeah. Lots of times fast guys use momentum to mask that as well, the old.
Right. And I used to tell people all the time, like the reason that guy or myself or someone can go faster than you is because we can go slower than you.
Yeah.
And it's the same, when you're going really slow and you just feel like you're going to tip over.
Yep.
Well, when I start riding really fast, I have that same sensation, except it's not called a tip over. It's called a wipeout.
Yeah.
So and if you are just riding with momentum, a lot of times you never get the sensation of wipeout. It just happens. So it's a thing. So Steve, Steve Shibig, Shy Big says, are you going to the Boise vintage races?
Me? Yeah. Oh yeah. I go every year. So yeah, I'm building
What is your
84 CR 500 for this year. Hopefully I'll get it done. So
84. Okay. Those 82s were horrible, right?
No, 81s were horrible.
81s. That was that scoop front number plate thing.
82s were decent. 83s were great. And then everybody thinks the 84 is horrible too, but I raced one back in 84 and I won a hair scramble championship on one. So, I thought it was a great bike.
Right.
So, but the pages of people's memory is always skewed. That all Jody Weisel, all he has to do is say something bad about one thing, and that's stamp it. It's history. So
does Jody like your seats?
We've sent him, he doesn't do the comfort thing, but we've sent him a bunch of our like race stuff for him to try. And
in all honesty, I hate to say it, but because I've seen Jody ride on many, many occasions, especially I used to go to Carlsbad and race Saturday motocross and used to go to Paris and race SMX, so I knew where the motocross action wrecking crew was all the way from when I was a little kid at Saddleback Park. So I've been around for a while. As Jody got a little bit older, and I'm going to say just when we left Carlsbad, that era of his riding, because he raced every weekend, every Saturday, he's a comfort seat guy. He probably doesn't even know it, especially the ones with the little ribs.
Yeah.
Because he's got that spot on the seat figured out.
Yeah.
I think now they call them like gull wings, like where that comfort seat starts opening up. So it kind of catches you a little bit.
Yeah.
But, the racers would never sit on a comfort seat. But I think if you just change exactly the same seat, just call it the racer gull wing seat.
Well, so I think to clarify your statement there, though, I think it's the guys that ride the vet classes, you'd be surprised how many comfort seats are on race bikes especially at the off-road events. It's crazy.
Right.
But
I don't think it's for the sitting down reason. I think it's for the, like when you're gripping the bike, and by gripping the bike, I mean, you're about ready to fall off it and you need to hang on as much as you can. So if you're gripping the bike with your legs and you start going backwards and you bump into that comfort section of the seat, it catches you.
Yeah.
Or if you plop your ass down on that comfort section of the seat, it catches you.
Yeah.
It really does. So take it from somebody who uses it all the time. I have a Husaberg 570.
I have some buddies that their favorite thing in the world is to go out to Jawbone Canyon and do all those hill climbs. And one of those guys got a tall comfort seat on his bike, and he must have wrote me a text that was 2,000 characters long and tell me how it's the best thing ever, because he discovered he just could weight one side of that wing or the other to control the bike going up the hill. At least that was his theory anyway. He loved it, So
yeah,
I never thought of it that way, but I guess maybe it's true.
It makes sense. I was because coming from a racing background and stuff, when I saw that in the old days, and granted, when you looked at the what was it, Saddlemen, that made those when they started doing the dual sport ones that like literally had a butt cup.
Yeah.
Almost like the back of a cruiser seat. That was the original thing. It wasn't like starting to get formed and shaped, so it wasn't interfering with your riding. But I was like kind of anti those, and so I kind of carried that I'd say bias until I actually tried it. And it's like, hey, this A, it's comfortable if I'm sitting down, and B, it actually kind of catches me when I'm going back. It reminds me that, hey, you're a little too far back here, buddy. Get yourself forward. Really, really helps out. And then, so I'm. So another thing you learn from being an old guy, you get smarter with your bike setup.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're gonna have this Old Guys Moto Fitness, and it's like I say, it's currently a private group. And how would you can other guys in the group can invite their friends, correct?
Yes, and we also
Perfect.
I'm getting I don't know 10 or 15 people a day wanting to join, and I just approve it if they're not a friend of a friend, that type of thing. So
right,
it keeps growing, then may have to. I wasn't expecting it to like just take off like this. So, totally like what the hell I got myself into now. But anyhow, I mean, you
might have to moderate a little bit and clip some people. Yeah. Be that guy.
Yeah. Have to bring out the band hammer and all that stuff. But, but I'll probably have to con a couple of my buddies and helping me like police it at some point, because I was at the races all weekend and not much internet out there. So it's hard to, like, if something does go wrong, but hopefully it being private and we're all mature older guys. Yeah. Right. That maybe it should stay pretty civil, but who knows,
I've seen, whether it's forums or Facebook threads and things like this, I've seen it's like, they're really good in the beginning. It's like you, cause you're attracted to like, that's good information. And I don't know whether it's like, people either that are in there gain a little bit of confidence to say what they want to say. And then, it's like whether it just goes political or religious, or I'm going to share this stupid thing, and it might not be that stupid, but the stupidness kind of grows. And then in my world, sometimes I just don't have the bandwidth to follow a lot of this, stuff. And the one other group that I kind of participate in a little bit is this, it's like the KTM EXC and XCW performance group. Is that what it's
FE/EXC performance group.
Right. So it's one that Taco Mike. Yeah. So it's one that Taco Mike does where he's kind of basically that has really helped launch his business. And, he he's been really good at moderating it and stuff. And the one thing I kind of always kind of point back at, because by the time I see something, generally there's 40 comments and I guess it's already been answered, so I don't really bother. But every once in a while, I kind of want to see how the question gets answered, like how it travels. And I tell people in the group, and maybe this is something that we can kind of establish, you can establish with this group, is when you get your answer or somebody gives you the thing that like really succeeds. Like if you post a question, hey, I'm doing this, man, put the answer back into your question.
Yeah.
Like take it, like, did this work? Or say, hey, I tried what so-and-so said and what so-and-so said, and neither of those things worked. Did somebody have another thing? Or, hey, thanks, Tom, this was the best thing ever. I can't believe how well it worked. And that saves, I think it thins out the traffic. The guy who says on every post, check your ground cable. It's a number one problem with every single issue. It's like, check your ground cable. It's like he was asking about what tire to use.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also a lot of know-it-alls too, and a lot of guys in those kind of groups, they're very, when you're very close personal friends with somebody, you can be sarcastic and whatever, but when you do it to people who don't even know, just that doesn't come over right to me.
Yeah. And the good thing about Facebook is it's generally attached to your name. It's kind of, and being in a group where you're kind of approving, people, that you can kind of keep it. And we have a bunch of viewers on our show that, they come in and they're smart asses and stuff, and they get banned from Facebook left and right. But it's like, it adds to some of the comedy with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's people that are really smart, and they, even when I start going down a wrong path, they'll come in and they'll just, fix it, straighten it right out. So, or I can reach out to them and they fix it. And it's like, cause I try to come across as the smartest guy in the room, but it's far from the truth. I listen a lot more than it's. Actually, Matt, is this true? Do I listen more than I talk?
Depends on the subject. Like at the riding school, you're the one talking.
Well, I'm a good. This. What do I tell you? There's one thing I know how to do: motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's it.
And people are paying to listen to you talk.
Right. Yeah. Doing a show on the internet.
Oh, you're supposed to talk then too.
Okay.
So
I guess you talk when you're supposed to.
You guys ever do a school on how to ride a tight Florida single track and bone dry sugar sand, I'll be the first one to sign up.
It's the, I only teach one class. We have a beginner class but I only teach one class that really focuses on these 4 things that a motorcycle does, and the 2 tenets, the balance and traction. And that helps no matter where you're riding, anytime you're riding on we'll call it a low traction situation. So pretty much everything other than pavement.
Yeah.
And when you start allowing yourself to be able to pinpoint every problem you have, like as far as the sugar sand, it's all balance. It's 100% balance is, not being hyper aware of it. And then as you get better with that, then you're better at anticipating what's going to happen, because the minute you tighten up on a motorcycle, the Matt's trying to fix. He's broke something already today. This is good. The minute you tighten up on a motorcycle, it quits talking to you. It's like you're choking it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't allow you to feel this. And if I always say people go, there's no way, all these guys, they're hanging on tight and stuff like that. Not all the time. And they're constantly, the only reason they're hanging on tight is to be able to loosen back up, to get themselves into a position to essentially, we'll call it like, they're using the gripping or the regripping of the motorcycle, or they're gripping the motorcycle in order to regrip or reposition themselves in a balanced place. And the problem with sand, as you think about it, is you've got all these kind of forces that are acting on the motorcycle where it's never connected to the ground, and it's always maybe a little bit out of line. And so that's where like momentum really helps, but sometimes you need traction too. And like where is that traction in that dry sugar sand? We have blow sand out here, and The worst for us out here is when it rains like it's been raining. And then we have turn tracks out there, and they end up with big, wet, loamy, bitchin' sand terms, like when it's wet. And then the wind blows, and then that dry blow sand blows into the ruts, and they harden up, then they almost cement. That's a bad time because it's like riding through muddy water. You can't see what's underneath it. And if you're not, you can muscle your way around that, but you'll get tired very, very quick. So that's the stuff we teach. I only want to have to teach it once, and then you can kind of go back and apply all of it to what you're doing. Then you realize, oh, I'm out of balance. How do I fix this? Right. And generally, it's pay attention to it. So Steve, your buddy Steve wants to know: are you eating carbs or sugars?
So I'm still. No, so I eat like a keto bread. The only raw sugar that I eat is in my coffee in the morning. I can't kick that. I've tried everything else and it just tastes nasty. But outside of that, no, it's just a lot of meat, vegetables, and I'll have the occasional Hershey's Kiss or something just to satisfy the urge. But I try to avoid even anything with added sugar in it. So like I've really gotten addicted to these sparkling ices because they have no sugar and they're carbonated. So it's like cheating. It's like I'm drinking a soda, but I'm not, Yeah. So no, I try to avoid just processed sugar as much as possible. And I honestly think I do, out of everything else, that helps make you feel, oh yeah.
Your buddy Jimmy wants to know if you're still liking the good tequilas.
Oh yeah. Look,
is there
see my bar over there? There's several.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Is there sugar in this? I think there is.
Yeah.
This is bad. But you're allowed to cheat a little bit, right? Old guys, we can cheat.
Yeah, I've cut way down on that too because I realized if you don't drink and for a couple of weeks and then you do drink, man, you can feel the effects. At least I do.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I mean, I just stop for no reason and start for no reason, and I don't seem to notice it yet. But everybody says, "Oh, just wait a year or two."
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. I'm gonna enjoy my year or two.
My problem with that is 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 4, and 4 is at 8 before you know it.
Yeah. I don't have that so much. I mean, sometimes when I just when the roller coaster just goes off the thing, it's on the tracks and running. But it's like I don't like the feeling of being super drunk. So never really have. But I enjoy a nice tequila, and I don't mind having a couple beers now and again. So
yeah.
But yeah, good times. I might give this stuff up. You never know.
No, that stuff right there is that's the ultimate tequila. You can't give that up. I mean, that's the first tequila I've ever had.
You want to go show them the other one? Want to grab the other one off the shelf, Matt? We'll bring in. I think there's some left still, even though my buddy George keeps telling me that he's poured it all out and replaced it with Kirkland.
Well, if you the Kirkland stuff, man, I swear to God that's Patron in those bottles because it tastes the same.
It's actually a Jose Cuervo. I'm pretty sure it's a Jose Cuervo. Look at this one. See, it's in its own little chalice here. So this one's really pricey. I have friends that have more money than common sense, and they want to give me a gift. So this helped a guy get through his trip up to Alaska on an adventure bike with a single phone call. So yeah, that one's special.
That's about a $1,500 bottle of tequila right there.
Yeah,
more than that.
Oh yeah, more than that. I think it was 18 when we got it. It might have been around 18 or something like that. So yeah,
wow.
Gotta have those kind of friends.
Yeah.
I would have never had an opportunity to drink that. Now that's one of the ones, the Tequila Club. I can check that box. That's quite an expensive little box to check. So thanks, Jeremy. Is what I always say. So anyhow, well, Lyndon, thanks a whole bunch for starting that group, number one. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for the support of the show and for making great seats as well.
Okay. Yeah, man. I hope it goes somewhere, and I hope we have a lot of fun with it because I think it could help a lot of folks, including myself. And I would, I welcome anybody to come on and, let's talk and let's hear what you're doing and let's trade stories,
Yeah, I'll be on there advertising the Jimbo program. That's my training. It's been my training program forever. And like I said, we have perks that a lot of the other training programs, no, I don't think Alden Baker has one of these in his shop or office. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, thanks again for coming on. And I'm gonna be in there poking around. I see a lot of other super smart guys. And like I said, some of those guys in there, these guys I know they put the miles on the mountain bikes and the road bikes, and some of them had really good success with racing. And I think collectively, we'll all stand to learn something.
Right.
So,
well, cool.
So good on you. Well, appreciate that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, if I could give a little shameless plug here at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just want to let everybody know on the 23 and 23 KTM and Husky stuff, man, we're well in the development. We only have a few things left to do, but they're actually, I can't believe how many people must have bought these new bikes because these seats are like in our top 5 sellers already.
Really?
Yeah.
or did KTM make that bad of a seat?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, but honestly, man, we've made that transition to where, first thing people do is they get a pipe or, FMF pipe or something like that for their bike. And we've kind of turned that corner too. And people like, well, I can't wait to get my seat now. So it's like,
yeah, it's a must have kind of thing.
Yeah, we've made the turn and now we're a must have. So it's like it's the best place in the world to be, so.
Hey, well, and another thing is, don't forget to mention you have that new 3D modeling stuff you guys are doing there.
Yeah,
to be able to get the shapes. And I got to tour the factory over the summer and was kind of amazed at I'm like, wow, all this for seats, and it was pretty cool. Oh. The seat the bolt on the complete seats. Uh-huh. I mean, you look at the price and you go like this, but once you have that thing and it's just so nice, sometimes the bases are even better than the stock ones. So a lot of cool stuff.
Well, I always tell people this: you'll pay $600 for a pipe, right? Why not spend half that for a seat that gives you a lot more in return? I personally,
yeah,
So
I'm a big fan of them. Especially on the bikes when you're really going to make a change. The adventure bikes. Where, for me, a lot of people, they want lower seats,
yeah.
But I want taller seats because I'm, short legs and I don't really ride with my feet on the ground. Some of the comfort stuff is amazing. The different covers, and then let alone the different looks. Like every once in a while I see some of the custom stuff that pops up and, that people are saying, hey, thanks for helping me with this vintage one or this really cool, design to match the graphics. So.
Well, cool.
Well, right on.
Appreciate it, man. I love talking with you guys. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do next to get back on. So
win some vintage championships. We'll talk about vintage bikes, and I have a whole lot to say on that subject. So right on, Lyndon. We will see you out the trail. For everybody else, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will come right back with maybe some electric bike talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it to look for weaknesses and to improve it or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden and raced and knows meets the high taco touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
Welcome back to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is the show where we answer your motorcycle and motorcycle related questions. This is episode number 173, although we have no idea when you are going to get to see this like rebroadcasted. You can see it live right now on our normal channels. Just so you know, if you ever have questions, comments, concerns, you want to put them in the comments of wherever you're watching this. We check those things out. If you have a good question, we grab it, put it back into the show, answer it on the next episode, whatever it is. So that's how to get in touch with us. This show would not be possible with the help of some of our sponsors. Of course, Yamaha. Do we have Yamaha ads reads yet?
No, but actually we just heard from them today.
We're getting them.
Some updates on that in the future.
The Yamaha Tenere 700 is currently my favorite adventure bike by far and away. Mm-hmm. I rode it again. I had my first big I want to call it a crash.
Okay.
On my ride back to California, I did something really stupid. I sat there and looked at it, said, that's stupid. I was fully loaded up. I had lots of stuff on the bike, and I said, it would have saved me 40 miles to ride off this cliff. So I rode off this cliff, and it went exactly like what you would expect when you ride off a cliff.
With an adventure bike.
With an adventure bike. Taco Moto, they typically sponsor Rooster Endo. And I don't know, maybe we'll see if we get to Rooster Endo. Probably not.
Probably not in this.
Not in this segment. We'll talk to Andy about electric bikes. So on the line with us is Andy from Dirt First Racing. If you've been watching our channel over there on Dirt Bike Test, you saw Trevor and what was the name of the kid?
Jet Lessing.
The name of the kid who
Jet Lessing.
Jet. We're ripping around on an electric Super Mini. And this is a bike, this is a creation that you have. There's obviously a few of them sitting behind you. And we are going to talk about that because I have some questions. I'm sure some of our viewers have questions. And since I get beat up on all the time, especially currently I'm getting beat up on by KTM because they say, what did they say? I said it in the video.
They said that you're just closed-minded or you're set in your ways.
I'm closed-minded and set in my ways and not accepting of electric bikes. So with that, Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background is and what led you to this little project.
Well, I've been riding all my life. I started racing when I was a teenager on the East Coast, and I did 10 seasons of the GNCC series and a couple other series on the East Coast, like the ECA Enduros and the OMA Nationals. And then I got a ride with the team in Baja. So I moved to California and raced the Score series for 6 years and did some Best in the Desert and National Hare and Hounds and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Got a pretty well-rounded experience as far as racing different types of events.
Quick question: are you familiar with the Good Club with a Bad Name from being from back east? Fuck you racing. So it's my good buddy Jerry Bernardo's little clan of misfits. You just have to have a sticker and then you're in the club.
Huh.
They were mostly doing the.
Back in the three-wheeler days in the 80s, we had the Shit and Get Club. That was like our little club.
So these guys started in the hare scrambles of Massachusetts and a bunch of massholes, and so they've spread. It's worldwide now. So okay, so you're out here racing Baja, doing some things.
Yeah, that's what got me out to California. And I've been out here for about 12 years. And I had a shop back in Maryland doing race prep mostly for GNCC guys. And I kind of did the same thing when I moved out here, prepping bikes for Baja guys, and mostly ATV racing is what I did. But we did a lot of like pre-running on 450Xs and dirt bikes. So I'm kind of equally able on a bike and a quad. But the electric thing started for me back in the 80s. Is when I really started looking at what was out there for electric bikes. And back then it was just like contraptions that people built with, electric motors and car batteries. And one of the things I thought about back in the 80s was putting together a Baja bug that was electric. That was like, I was fascinated with that. But it never really got in a position where I could spend the time to do it. So, that's where my interest started in electric vehicles, and I always kept an eye on it. And then, within the last 5 or 8 years, the bikes started getting good enough to where they were getting somewhat close to the gas bike. So that's when I really pulled the trigger on getting an electric bike and setting it up.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're there? Are electric bikes there yet?
I mean, it depends, like, if you mean racing heads up against gas bikes on like the way the current races are set up, they're not there. There's nothing, you can't go buy a bike and set it up and it's equal to a gas bike
right. And I think there we agree. And I've ridden, trying to think of the first electric bike I rode. I don't even remember the names of some of I rode some of those early things, but then there was what's the San Francisco base? They're still there.
Zero.
So Zero, and then there's Zero, and there was one other one that were more, we'll call them mobility, companies, as far as, they just build motorcycles because it was easy, a lot of urban transportation. There was Zero, and there was one other one that was pretty big. And so, and then at that time then there was a lot of the mini bike racing. We had a lot of electric mini bike racing. There's a few companies, because I know Zero got involved with that. There was a company that made one that actually had a clutch and shifted. There was 4 or 5. I know Eric Pinard put on at the Mini Moto. They actually put on an electric exhibition race, and I did that as well. I don't even remember what the name of the bike I rode was. I think it was one of the ones that shifted. I was just a guy that showed up that would willing to ride anything. I've ridden the Alta, ridden the E-Motion, the Trials bike.
Right.
And so quite a and then of course the KTM Freeride E, rode it a while back, like when they first came out, and then I've just got done riding the current one, and have ridden lots of different versions or things like Surons or Segways or these other things. So I have a fair amount of experience. It was kind of funny when Trevor told me he was riding that bike. I'm like, oh, I want to ride it, because I kind of want to ride one with a damn brake pedal.
Yeah.
So what led you down the path to build the KTM Super Mini electric bike? Well,
I had built a Zero a few years back, and I started with a Zero DSR like 2016 or 17. And, my idea, like pipe dream, was to race like a Baja race, like maybe the San Felipe 250 or something on it, just to, not to compete for a win, but just to finish and just pull it off and say I did it, kind of thing. So, I got the longest range Zero they made. It's like the 14.4 main battery with a 3.6 additional battery where the tank usually sits. I mean, the thing weighs like 450 pounds. But I put CRF suspension and wheels on it and forks, and had Race Tech build a rear shock and made it so I could race through the desert on it. And I didn't do Baja on it, but I did sign up for a National Hare and Hound and did like the first loop, like the 40-mile loop on it in Lucerne. And
so what was your range on that bike?
Well, I did the 40-mile loop, and at as fast as I could go on it. It was limited by the suspension because it weighed so much. Yeah. But plenty of power, like 70 horsepower, is what that DSR makes. So a lot of power is limited by suspension. I did a 40-mile lap and had like 70%. I burned up like 70% of the battery.
Huh.
So it'll probably it could probably do like 90, maybe 80 or 90 miles, just like hard trail riding.
Huh. And then enter the KTM Super Mini.
Yeah. And then that kind of got me going on electric bikes. And, I was looking for the next project, and I mean, the KTM has been out for years. Like, I think the first production model was like in Europe, it was like 2012 or 13 or something.
Yeah, so I believe I rode it in 14.
I knew about it, and they made it like a big battery improvement on it in 2018. So I just went ahead and bought one and figured I'd just see what I could do with it, And I kind of like bought it for my wife, and and she's like 5'2", so it was a little tall for her. So we were talking about like lowering the suspension internally to make it the right height for her, and I thought instead of doing that, I'll just put Super Mini wheels on it, smaller wheels, and that way I can keep the full suspension travel. And so I put some small wheels on, and she rode it, and it worked great for her. So that's pretty much what sparked the whole Super Mini thing with the KTM.
And those wheels are a pretty easy swap over, correct?
Yeah, it's the hubs, like the Freeride stock hubs and 85 SX stock hubs are same exact part number. Like it's a direct swap.
And then so with that, and this is my literally one of my biggest complaints with that bike in particular is no rear brake pedal. And it's because they say, oh, it's for motorcycle people. And I'm like, okay, where's the rear brake pedal? And they're like, well, you're closed-minded. I'm like, yeah, but I don't like to pull my clutch in to use my brake, because there's nothing up there except for now there's a brake lever. And then they're like, well, that's for bicycle people. They're used to having their brakes up on the handlebars. I'm like, yeah, but they're on the other side. so
yeah, and I put a pedal on it immediately mainly because my wife is riding it, and she has other bikes too. She rides like a 250X, CRF 250X, and she switches off between the two bikes. So to go from using a pedal brake to a hand brake back and forth, there's always that little bit of like adjustment period. So it just made sense to keep both our bikes the same and put a pedal on the Freeride.
Right. I'm fine until I get to, oh shit. As far as like I can ride the Freeride around as long as I'm thinking about it. The minute I come in a little bit hot and I need to use my rear brake to adjust what the bike's doing, like basically my rear end's trying to pass me up, and I'm wondering, well, should I pull the clutch in now? So, I got to fix this. Yeah. So, and it's not just a bolt-on thing, correct? Because did you have to weld some tabs onto the frame, or
it's totally bolt-on.
It is totally bolt-on.
In fact, it's all OEM KTM parts, all except for a little clip that holds the return spring for the brake pedal. That's the only part that isn't OEM KTM parts.
I wish they knew that, because I asked them this. they said you have to modify that. I asked KTM, and they told me, because we're going to get into like what you're told and what I said, can I get a rear brake? And they're, no, you can't do it. You have to bolt something. And I'm like, I watched the video and I go, yeah, they were using the rear brake. And Trevor said, yeah, I think he modified it for it. So yeah, I wouldn't think that they would change that frame and chassis, because that chassis used to hold either a 250 two-stroke, which I had ridden this one, or a 350 four-stroke gasoline engine in the Freeride platform. And those bikes had rear brakes.
Yeah, and
it's
that's where all the parts come
formula
from. All the parts are directly off of the 250R version of it for the rear brake.
Huh. Yeah, that's well, there goes your fix. I didn't say anything about that in the video, did I? You had to modify it. I didn't get into it.
I don't think you got into that. I think you just said you wish.
Yeah,
I wish there was a rear brake.
And another thing, while we're talking about it, the master cylinder, brake line, and caliper from a SXF 250 or 450, it bolts right on. Like after you put the pedal on from the Freeride R model, the two-stroke Freeride, after you put the pedal and the master cylinder mount off of that bike on the Freeride, then SXF Brembos bolt right on.
I had all that stuff sitting in the garage. I could have done that.
Yeah.
All I had to do is get a brake pedal. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So on this bike, so what are you currently doing with it? What has been done with it?
As far as races we're doing with it?
Racing. Yep.
Well, I started out like, I got a buddy of mine, his son, was, like 14-year-old motocross racer. So he offered to ride it and test it. So we started with a totally stock bike and he just took it out and beat on it and just see what broke and, what we needed to work on and suspension and all that. So we spent about a good 6 months just going to like LACR and out in the desert and Gorman and just putting time on it and seeing what, it's kind of an unknown quantity that we were dealing with. So we just put time on it and broke, basically. And once we got it to where it was reliable and the suspension worked pretty good and we could go to a motocross track and, weren't getting jumped on, then the first thing I did was enter a national hare and hound. We got, I talked to somebody at AMA in Ohio and about it because, Michna from NHHA, he was kind of reluctant to let it run in those races, and I wanted to do it legit. I didn't want to just show up and enter. So I ended up talking to somebody at AMA, and they have like a trail rider class at the Hare and Hounds where you can run anything. It's mainly for beginners, I guess. But, but they let us enter that because it's not a points paying class. And we were able to line up on the row with the super minis so we could gauge directly the performance of the free ride against the gas super minis. So we did 2 of those races and had pretty good results and found the limits on, it's an hour and a half youth race. So we were doing like multiple battery swaps during the race. Like, we did like 5 battery swaps in an hour and a half race.
Because I was able to get, if I rode it in mode 3, and I suspect now you're not doing any engine or powertrain modifications, correct?
The whole powertrain and battery is completely stock.
So you're probably running it in mode 3 the whole time.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I didn't notice a big difference between mode 2 and 3 in range. Cause basically when I was riding, we're out here in the desert and I was riding it at, like, I would say 20 to 30 miles an hour all the time. And I could get, what was it? About 25 miles what we were getting?
25 to 30 miles.
Yeah, 25 to 30 miles pretty consistently. I did it when it was, 100 and something degrees out. I did it when it was 30 degrees out. And the only thing is when it was 30 degrees out, the battery didn't like to be super cold. It did some sort of a fault thing where it seemed like it had to warm up and then you had to shut it off, cycle the key and get it going. But, so I'm thinking like in an hour and a half, how fast were they? Because they're probably doing like 20, 25 miles an hour average in those kind of races.
I don't know what the average mile per hour was. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know it was like around a 7 or 8 mile loop is what we were doing.
And you would have to change the battery after one loop, or you get two?
No, we did after one loop. Just I didn't. It was too close. Like it was taking a chance, of running out of juice if you try to go 2 laps. Like if you had an issue or got lost or something crazy,
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think. We took it over to our sand track, and I literally tried to just milk the thing for everything it was worth. And I think I was still like close to 20. I mean, I think I came back at 16, and it was down it wasn't on the greens anymore. Or it goes greens, then yellow, then red, and then blinking red. Mm-hmm. There's like a whole thing, and you technically don't want to get it down into the red at all, like for battery longevity. Is this kind of correct from what you know?
Yeah, you don't want to run it. I would say below 10%.
Yeah, because I ran it till it went into just to do it. I ran it till it went into full on limp mode. Like,
right.
It would barely get out of its own way. I was just out in front of the house, like doing acceleration runs, back and forth. Just I wanted to see, does it ever really die? And it got to the point where it was on the blinking red thing, and I'm like, it's told me now for 15 miles I should stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long time. I think I got 36 or 37 miles. And the first half of it, I was really kind of like screwing it on, riding around pretty fast. So I would call it satisfied with but that surprises me that you had to change the batteries that quick.
Yeah. And at our like desert practice loop, we get about 11 miles out of a battery.
Yeah.
So
lots of hills.
No, it's basically flat, just whooped out sand.
Yeah.
But that's with like, the kids I have riding them are up and coming pro riders. I mean, they're pro motocross riders in the making. So they're riding it really hard.
And then you had 5 batteries, or were you going back and charging the battery?
I have 3 batteries. So we were taking a battery out and immediately putting it on charge, but that you get in an issue there where the battery can't be too hot or it won't even start to charge it. It has some kind of protection built in where the charger won't even start charging it if the battery is at too high of a temperature. So that's
right.
One of the things we found out that you wouldn't find out any other way.
Yeah,
it's all part of the testing process.
Yeah, because I mean, like when you're talking, like 11, 12 miles and stuff like that, that's kind of a hard sell for someone that like wants to get racing, and hence going back to like, I don't know if these things are just really ready for prime time yet, in the grand scheme of things. But I'll tell you, when you listen to, and we'll talk Stark Varg in a few minutes. I heard, so you still have your deposit out with Alta? It hasn't been returned yet?
I'm going to wait till I get my deposit back from Alta before I put it down on a Stark Varg.
Yeah. So hey, it's like when I heard when they came out with all their stuff, it said 80 horsepower. I'm like, it's no problem. That can be done. 1 hour battery charging. Maybe in a year or two, we might be able to have that figured out, because I know there's some battery materials and stuff that are coming out that are going to be different, allow some of this stuff, but all these things, it's just like not really ready. And then when they had their pre-sale or whatever, and they sold so many, I'm like, okay, now how are they going to produce this? Because you can't just flip a switch and say, I need 15,000 sets of Kayaba suspension. That doesn't come. That's a 3 to 5 year process. So a lot of these things kind of, to me, was like, well, there's a lot of talk, but now show me you charge it in 1 hour. This is the first, I want to see this. And even when the journalists went over there, they didn't get to see the bikes being charged. This was kind of a mystery. So some of the things you hear and see, like I said, it's coming, but not sure where everything's at.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I hope that it's a success. I hope they hit all their marks and it's a big success, but I really kind of have my doubts on a lot of aspects of what they're doing, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and really that press intro they had, that it really wasn't a good indicator that things were going smooth, because you know, like you said,
it was
didn't,
damage.
You know,
a little bit of damage control in that they kind of like, just about the time everybody's going, hey, what's up? I want my money back. It's like, oh, hey, we're doing a press intro. And then just last week, all of a sudden, they're parading some bikes around the United States. They're taking them to the dealers that have made big pre-orders or have pre-orders assigned to them, however this works. So they, you know, all of a sudden it's like kind of a sort of a stopgap, and they're like, yeah, we'll have them ready in November. You know, they said they were going to be here in March, and it's like, okay, well, hey, look, here's actually a bike, you know. So they're going through these things, and when you look at what they, you know, when they talk about, yeah, having a silent motocross bike is insane. That's really cool. It's maybe not what a lot of people say they want, but if you have a silent motocross bike, you can have a motocross track right next to someone's house, and all you're going to hear is zzz, 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 and it's not going to bother anybody, and we're going to have more places to ride. They're I mean, electric, and you can probably vouch for this, for the most part, not a lot of maintenance, not a lot of rebuilds, just plug and play if you keep your battery tuned up.
Yeah, I was on YouTube, and I saw somebody made a video of like 10 top reasons why 2-strokes are better than 4-strokes. And I got to thinking, yeah, I'm going to make up my top 10 list of things why electric bikes are better than gas bikes.
That's a 1 million view video. Why didn't I think of that, Matt?
Because we were too busy thinking about how to make the show better.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, you have to just plug it in first. That's, I mean, plug the show in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not an anti-electric bike guy. And Honda, believe it or not, Honda just showed their electric CRF again at the Tokyo show just recently. So that has popped back up. And, you know, Yamaha has partnered with some companies to have an electric motor put into some of their chassis and stuff. And this is stuff that Yamaha, especially over in Europe, does. They will, you know, whether they're selling a motor package, a powertrain package to a manufacturer, or they're, you know, co-oping on certain things. So I don't know. And then, you know, KTM's building. I mean, they're, and I believe that they're doing it the right way. They're starting, you know, they've got the kids in the supercrosses race around in those electric 50s. The best electric bike I've ever ridden, Alta was good, but was an OSET, a little OSET kids bike. I always said that's the best electric bike made, because the battery lasted longer than the kid's attention span. You know, you hardly had to do anything to it. You just plug it in and let the kid ride around. And it taught them really good trials, the throttle control, because they were a little bit snappy, and this it's coming. There's no doubt that this is coming. It's just, you know, when and how. And
I think that touches on one of the things that Stark got wrong. They went straight for the 450 class. I think it would have been a much wiser decision to start with like a 65 or an 85, build those, get a few of those out, build on the experience of the technology involved, and translate that into developing the bigger bikes. I mean, they went straight for like these diehard gas bike guys that have it ingrained, you know, that have grown up around 2-strokes and 4-strokes, and getting those guys to change is going to be tough.
But I think there's enough of them quantity wise that are open-minded, that are willing to take the challenge. And that's why they had to say 80 horsepower, although, you know, they say, oh, it's 80, but we're really going to release it at 60, you know, and there's all these different things that come. But the electric motors make a lot of torque. And even in the early days, you know, like I said, those zeros and stuff, they had no problem making torque, but in the beginning, it was bicycle guys trying to understand what a throttle did on a motorcycle, guys that had never ridden a motorcycle. So it was sort of like on off, you know, the original power controllers were on off. And I'll tell you, that's the one thing with that KTM they've done a really good job with, is just the the throttle working like a throttle. So the power controller. What do you call the unit? Power controller?
The motor controller.
Motor controller. So the motor controller now working like a throttle, and with a certain amount of, because there's definitely traction control built in. That bike knows when it starts spinning too much, and it tames the power delivery. For instance, like if you get it in sand and you try to take off in sand, real deep sand, it gets a little bit confused, but it's amazing when you park it on a hill and, a steep hill, and then you go to roll it back on, the way that it just rolls the wheel and it doesn't spin it up and light it up. This is like what the old like Alta on level 4 would do. Like you touch the throttle, it starts spinning. And
on like motocross starts, it's almost like you have to like be in like an almost power brake kind of situation. Like you give it some gas, holding the front brake until you feel the back of the bike kind of start to rise up, and that's like where you want to be when the gate drops. It's just a totally different way of starting on a motocross gate.
Yeah. And you have no transmission on most of these bikes. I know the Electric Motion Trials bike has a transmission and a clutch, but on the KTM, there's no, and I'm under the impression, like we talked about, they're going right. They're going, they have the 50s, and I know they're working on 65 and 80, but I guess there's, with all these controller issues and supplies, there's a supply chain problem. And I heard they're also going from high voltage, which the KTM Freeride E is, down to a lower voltage platform on the other bikes, just to make it easier to have options for charging. And I think there's a lot more technology out there with that, the lower voltage type charging and stuff. And were you able to charge? You said you were able to charge the batteries out in the field. Were you using a generator to do this?
Yeah, we just use a gas generator. But
right.
Most of the time, like if I'm just going to the track with one rider and one bike, 3 batteries is enough to get through a day. And most of the time, the kids that are riding my bikes, they have their gas bike too. Like they ride like a 125 or an 85. So they're not riding the free ride all day long. So it works out good.
They told us absolutely do not. They said do not put it on a.
Yeah, they were very clear about that.
On a generator. They just didn't want us to run that charger on a generator. Don't know why. Probably, if the generator's not healthy or something.
I try not to, but there's just sometimes you don't have a choice. If you want to ride,
right?
That's what you got to do.
And hence one of the downfalls. I mean, it's just like if all of a sudden we switched over to natural gas, like where are you going to go to the natural gas station or propane? It's just not. It's not easy. The simplicity of gasoline is yet to the power density of it and the ease of transport and stuff is just yet to be matched. But so where do you see this? Where do you see this going? What do you think's next?
As far as the free rides, or
the free rides specifically, the electric bikes that you're doing, because you guys are building these. You'll build a kit bike for somebody if they're looking for this.
Right. Yeah, and, I'm going to keep.
Or what's next?
I'm going to keep on working with the same platform, and there's a few things we're still working on to make them better. I really don't want to change anything with the powertrain on it. I think it's kind of like a spec class kind of deal where, it might be, it would be good racing if everybody had the same drivetrain and it was all about setting up the suspension and the bike. It would make for good racing. So I'm kind of sticking with that. I got 2 of the bikes set up now and 2 riders. So we're, hitting motocross races heavy. We're going to be doing that Paris Friday Night Lights series that Kyle Lewis is co-sponsoring, and just try to get some interest in it and if nothing else, there'll be some kids out there that'll have electric bike experience from riding my free rides. So when the Stark or some other big electric bike comes out, then they'll be ready for it.
Right. And is there any interest from KTM?
I haven't heard anything from KTM. So
yeah, you think it'd be a good platform to expose? I mean, I know they've got stuff in the pipe, and they haven't shown anything like quote big bike wise yet. Like I said, Honda has a little bit, Yamaha, and Kawasaki's constantly talking about doing stuff. And now most of the manufacturers have some sort of, we'll call it 50cc sized, electric toy bike kind of thing. Honda kind of subleases it out. Kawasaki is doing something more on the Strider bike side of things, but with a lot of these companies where they're making these, we'll call them like green initiatives, zero emissions initiatives, they're kind of forced into doing it. A lot of this is on the on-road side, but I kind of suspect that they're going to start dabbling in off-road as well. So, but if anybody's interested in watch this, we have a couple videos up and on the Free Ride E, different one's the full. It's a Dirt First Racing's full mini bike build. Trevor's actually the right size for your bike. Did you notice this?
He looked good on it. Like it was proportionate.
And obviously you put a 450 underneath the kid in just yard sales. So we need to maybe tone it down. I know he's looking for some help and best in the desert stuff. Maybe this is probably that way the donkeys can outrun him, right?
Mm-hmm. yeah. And the two kids I got running the free ride in that Paris MX series, they're 18 years old, so they're not even super mini age. So we're running the bikes in the 125 class.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And because here's what I said. Like if people ask me like how fast is it? I go, it's a 125 to third gear. Like if you took off on the free ride and you gas it, to me it feels like a 125. You go first, second, third, and then when you would go to shift to fourth, that's where the free ride sort of stops. It doesn't keep pulling, but from that to that point, it feels like it pulls pretty good and it goes. So yeah, I mean, as far as fun goes, you don't need the noise. I mean, the noise, once you kind of get over the fact that it doesn't have the noise, you're just ripping around and doing all the stuff you kind of want. And my other thing I've said about the electric bikes is I think they're great if you have a buddy that has one, preferably two buddies that have them. And then you're game on. Then you're kind of doing stuff. So that's where I'm kind of sitting. So
we're trying to do that, like expand on that by running two riders at the motocross races, just so they can kind of like dice it out amongst themselves, not so much against the gas bikes, but just, see who's going to be fastest on the free ride.
Yeah. Well, cool. One of these days, hopefully I'm out at the track when you're out at the track and I can rip some laps on one of those things.
Yeah, so, sure. You're more than welcome.
Yeah. Any shout outs? Where do we follow, find you, keep up with you, Andy?
I've been hitting Instagram real heavy. There's, the Dirt First Racing on Instagram, Dirt First Racing website has full info and, complete breakdown on the bikes with spec sheets and, some build photos and that kind of thing. And that's probably the two best places to look for info.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and we will definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Andy from Dirt First Racing. Matt, you that might be your level of bike. I think you
live for motocross at least.
Motocross, yeah. Get you,
yeah.
Keep you safe on the track. So, okay, so we're gonna roll into what do we got? Do we have a couple questions from last week here?
Okay, so we're done. So
we'll say see you, Andy. We'll catch you out in the trail.
All right,
and that'll be the end of.
Thanks.
And we're gonna kind of roll on here with a couple of our questions. Would be remiss without mentioning all of our sponsors. I'd like to thank Yamaha, Taco Moto, Scott Sports, and the amplified goggle lens. Loving it in these mixed conditions we're having with clouds and rain, and sometimes darkness sets in. Climb, layer up with Climb. That's all I can say. I'm super comfortable with them riding, and the inversion glove. If you have fingers that are prone to frostbite and freezing, the inversion windstopper glove is your best friend. DDC, Trail Tech, Fasst Company, Seat Concepts. Thanks to Lyndon for coming on, talking about Moto Fitness. Bulletproof Designs. They have lots of new stuff for the 2023s. Actually, so does Seat Concepts, like Lyndon was telling us. And, of course, Double Take mirrors. If you need a mirror that works on your dual sport or adventure bike, check out Double Take. Hit me up for a little coupon code if you're interested in getting a discount. I run them on pretty much every single one of my bikes when I need to have mirrors, and I use them to shave, which I don't do very often. So it's beard season for me. So these are the questions here.
Yep.
Do you have them? Do you want to read them?
Yeah, let me read them to you.
Oh, here.
I got them.
You got it right there?
Yeah,
okay.
I have technology.
Do you actually pluck some questions off the chat? We can get to the let's grab those ones in the chat first, I think.
All right, so this one was from Sean Elliott when we had Lyndon on. It was why doesn't Dakar fuel stops use a water removal funnel / filter when filling Dakar bikes and equipment?
Because generally out in the middle of the desert, like any gas is good gas. And who knows how long the gas has been sitting in those drums. And especially when you're having rainstorms, who knows how tight the barrel, the top of the drum was sealed. And if you notice if a drum's sitting someplace, it pools up with water on top. And how come they don't use water filters? Time, effort, like
money.
I mean, it's I mean, those filters aren't really that expensive to do it. You just kind of have to be, as a rider, you have to kind of be aware of this all the time. When I rode BMW, my float bowl, which was out, 2 of them, came off with a clip. I went unclip, took the float bowl, went like this, put it back on, clipped it back on. I loved it when we got water in the gas. Loved it. Because I would just do that and take a minute to drain out the water, and the KTM guys would have to take their gas tanks off.
Oh man.
And it happened. Unfortunately, when I was racing, it only happened in transfer sections. I wished it would happen during a stage, but this has been a long time known issue. The bikes for a while, like I said, KTM got smart and they put a drain on the very bottom of the gas tank because that's where the water goes. It goes all down to the bottom. If it stays splashed up and suspended, the bike will still run, not very well, but it'll still run. But when it pools up, then it just completely cuts out. Yes.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so you had another question, which was, what are your recommendations for fuel injection systems? Gulotech filters or other water removal filters. Do you use stuff in your tank?
Gulotech. So it's a Gulotech, and I have the filter that I just put on the end of the pour spout on the gas can. And if I feel like there's water in the gas, I run it through that. I will tell you that the good thing, so water usually goes to the bottom. So if you're careful about pouring it out, you can usually leave it in the container. But if you're using like a siphon funnel or something like that, and it's getting shook up, it's going to work its way into your gas tank. So you don't necessarily need it. The other thing is ethanol carries the water. So the water will get absorbed into the gas with ethanol in it, and then it will transport that water into the gas tank. And then as it warms, cools, I don't know. I think when it cools down, it loses it. It goes out of suspension, and it can fall out. So if you shake it up, sometimes that gas can pass through. I think the Gulotech filter will filter out a lot of the water that is actually in suspension in the gas. So that's an option if you're getting kind of suspect gas. And I mean, if you're really concerned about it, you could always like slap one of those things over the hose filler when they went to fill your bike in the Dakar. So.
Okay, another question from the chat from before. Husky Holler was asking, would raising the forks up in the triple clamps increase front end traction?
Raising the forks up. So you're sliding up. So you're lowering the front of the motorcycle down. So yes, it can also make it worse because it also changes the geometry to a certain extent. So this is where you're kind of going down you're going down a path. You're kind of deciding what you want to do with your bike's handling. And I don't necessarily know if I used to move the forks a lot, and I've not slowly. I kind of about 5 or 6 years ago I went away from it because with them getting the chassis tuned a lot better, the rigidity, the torsional and the lateral rigidity in the chassis, it seems like that moving the forks is pretty dramatic. Like, we're talking 1 or 2 millimeters can make a pretty big difference. Mm-hmm. I would much rather use the rear of the bike, use the suspension, whether it's shock preload or high speed compression on the shock to do that adjustment to make that. It seems like the bike they respond better that way. Not to say that it doesn't work. But it's always worth trying. So and just like sometimes, like I said, he asks if it puts more weight on the front wheel. It does, but does that get you more traction? It kind of depends on how you're riding the bike, because the reason you're losing traction on the front wheel might be because you already have too much weight on it, and that's going to put more. Mm-hmm. So, and like even a few shows ago, somebody asked about checking front fork sag. I think I answered that question someplace, but they were checking why don't we check front fork sag? And it's like, well, if your bike's kind of balanced, you don't necessarily need to, but there's ways to measure it. It's just hard. When I see people check the balance of the motorcycle and they do it with the front brake on or the front brake off, are they standing on the foot pegs with somebody balancing it? There's all these different ways that you do it. And in reality, I just get the sag in the, I set the sag where the manufacturer wants it. And then when I go to, hey, this bike is unbalanced, I use the rear of the bike to adjust it. And at that point, I'm not too worried about the measurement anymore. I'm just making the adjustment to get what I want. And you can do the same thing with the front. You can move it up or down. Some of these bikes have externally adjustable spring preload. Changing the air pressure ever so slightly can adjust the ride height if you have air forks. So lots of options. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in reality, you slide the forks up, it's a permanent change. Unlike, like if you imagine that front fork is constantly moving. So it's always in different things. So, sometimes just clicking the adjusters can accomplish the same thing during certain times, not full time. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. I think that's actually it for the questions from the chat. I think you guys were actually getting to them after I had to go take care of something else. So Dave Donnelly in the chat right now just asked, last week someone had mentioned removing the crossbars on the bars to get more flex. Is this safe to do, and does it work? Thanks, guys.
What bars did the bike that you sold him have?
A crossbar. I think it was the Renthal twin wall.
Twin walls?
Yeah.
Yeah, take the crossbar off of that if you want some flex. So certain bars have certain characteristics, and I think that the certain bars need the crossbar, or they flex too much, or they can break. Mm-hmm. And there's other bars where you can take it off and you don't know any difference. And I even know on like some riders with the twin wall Renthals, they have a crossbar in there, but it's cut. It's just holding the pad. Mm-hmm. So it's really, there's nothing in there. So it all kind of depends on what you're searching for and the strength of the bar that you're willing to do it. I would rather do, handlebars, you don't want to be messing around with stuff. Cause if you're taking something out that's designed to reduce flex, mm-hmm. maybe, who knows whether that flex is too much. That's why I run flex bars. Fasst Company, makers of flex bars here in the United States, American made. They're the reason I can ride day after day with my nice, wimpy wrists. Flex bars for old dudes that are, especially if you're in the old guys Moto fitness group, And actually, some guys were talking about some aches and pains, and I didn't even have to do it. Other people recommended flex bars. Made in Utah. Enjoy the flex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any others? What does Colin Bowman want to know?
So Colin was asking, "Hi, Jimmy/DBT. I have a podcast question."
I thought he was just saying he has a podcast.
Yep.
So does everybody else, buddy.
Can you compare/contrast the Husky 701 Enduro with the T7? I'm trying to decide between the two.
No comparison. Yamaha sponsors this show. The Tenere 700 is you don't even have to go any farther. The Yamaha Tenere 700 is the best adventure bike in the world ever. And you know how you know? Because you can't get one because they're all sold out. But supply's coming back, so just go to your Yamaha dealer, visit YamahaMotorsports.com to find out all your information, find a dealer near you. Tell them Jimmy sent you. I saw that somebody told me the Tenere 700 video series that I'm doing, my vlog, as they call it, is costing them a lot of money because they need a Tenere and then B, all the things that I've done to mine. So,
Right.
okay, keep going. I'll let you go.
Okay. So the 701 with an aftermarket seat and a rally fairing seems like a lighter, higher spec T7 on paper. I think everyone would probably prefer the Husky when the pavement ends, but would the rally fared Husky be comfortable crossing a state or two on the freeway at 75? Thanks.
So you're dealing with bikes that are 700 cc's or less. So they're never going to be good at crossing a state on the highway compared to larger bikes. You know, when you go up to, 850, 1,000, 1,200, all this stuff. The bigger it just makes it go better on the street. And probably the biggest disadvantage to the smaller bikes like this is to go the same speed, you're kind of twisting the throttle and you're getting a little higher in that efficiency. So they start eating gas. So your fuel economy on the smaller bikes tends to go down a little bit. But Tenere has an extra cylinder, bro. And that extra cylinder, it just makes a little bit more power, a little smoother pull. But I actually think that the Husky might be a little bit more fuel efficient. They're notoriously fuel efficient, but I have not spent that much time on a 690, 701, whatever they call the gas, to really find out what the highway mileage is and how much I would be straining. I know, like when I rode the KLR 650, which makes like half the horsepower of those bikes, I was getting pretty poor fuel mileage because I was always wanting to go 80, 90 miles an hour. And that meant wide open on that particular bike. And things aren't very efficient at wide open. If you could be 3/4 throttle or, and once you're like half and above, just clicking it back ever so slightly, I can watch it because my Yamaha has the instant miles per gallon on it. And I can just turn my throttle like a millimeter back and it'll go up like 4 miles to the gallon. So, but no, I would, and even going like on single track, there's no advantage to having one or the other. There's still big, heavy adventure bikes that need to be treated with a certain amount of care. And I don't think that you're going to ride a Husky any faster than you would a Tenere. And I don't think the Husky would have crashed as good as I did on my Tenere when I was riding off a cliff. So, and by a cliff, I mean, it was a cliff that I actually rode off on purpose and I went down. And then if Jeff Emig were doing the announcing on the show, he would have said Huckabuck 3 times by the time I got to the bottom where I did my pile driving.
Right.
Yeah. So Colin, don't blame me. I am one of the KTM 701 Husky haters that whatever. I guess that's just the way I am.
Right.
But I did like the one with that big giant gas tank that I heard they discontinued when the long range, the LR long range, the 701 long range. I was kind of surprised that tank really helped that bike out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just finish out this last one from Das Boot 956, and then we'll call it a show.
Okay.
How come no one does tests on the FE 250 or the EXC 250? Be a good bike
because they don't make them anymore.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
But go ahead.
He's saying it'd be a good bike for a lot of new riders / people that just want a light bike. Tons out there for the 350 and 501, but virtually nothing for the 250s. I like to buy my old lady one, but there's not a lot of info available because those weren't around for very long, were they?
Das Boot. Okay, we have to talk to you about your pronouns: riders, women, people, and old lady. Like, what about the men? Like, what about the men that want to ride a nice
Light 250.
250? Yeah. So I have one. I have a 250 XC, and I have a 350 and 250. And I mean, they are so identical because they are. They're literally. I mean, the motors motors are different, but they look so identical. The 250 is just like a lower power version of that.
Mm.
And in all honesty, you can't feel the weight difference that much. There's that little bit of weight difference perception that the power gives you, but it's not that much. So I think KTM just said, they're the same bike. Let's just make one instead of two.
Right. For production costs.
Yeah, and I know in other countries there's licensing requirements that a 250 would slide underneath and all this stuff like that. But in reality, this you could for your new rider, women, people, and old ladies, they could take the 350 and be just as happy with that as the 250. And if it was an issue, I'm pretty sure you could put a really mellow throttle pull, like a larger throttle wheel. So a smaller diameter throttle pull. So it actually less rate of throttle pull, and that would tone it down. And you could leave the bike completely stock with the stock insert in the back of the muffler, and that would tame it down as well. And I'm pretty sure you could also put a fuel tuner on an older 350 and then kind of richen it up a bit on the lower and the mid, and that will tone it down a bit as well. So yeah, they're great bikes, but in reality, you could just get a 350 and have the same thing. So I think that's why. So
yep,
that's my answer. So Das Boot, like, pick on the men. Okay, give us some names, some men. Like, we want to ride those bikes too.
Okay.
Don't be so selective. Dave Delaney, did you ever race a CZ? I asked because at the Mecum auction tomorrow, they have a bunch of them for sale. No, I did not race a CZ. I've ridden a couple of them, and I don't want any more motorcycles.
You think you have enough?
And I don't want any vintage bikes. Like, vintage bikes are fun to ride if it's somebody else's and I can ride it for a minute to realize how horrible they were. Generally horrible in braking performance and horrible in handling and flex and suspension, all that stuff. But those bikes some of those older bikes make some power in short bursts. Power was never a thing. So we hit Jeremy Ortega.
No, we haven't. So he's asking, what's the best method for cleaning rims and tires that have mousse tubes on them?
Mousse lube on them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're asking a guy who doesn't clean much and just ride it. The best method for me to clean that is to take it out and ride it in mud and sand, where it's deep enough to like get over the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you ride it a lot in that, it'll kind of clean itself. And then when you pressure wash it, it's all gone. But as far as like cleaning it, like to wipe it down, I usually just wipe it off. If it's just slimy and it spreads, it's hard to get off. Like, I'm trying to think of what kind of, because I'll just spray it with like brake cleaner. Because I do clean, like if I've been messy with my mousse installation and I get lube on the disc rotor, I'm very diligent about cleaning it off because that's no good there.
Yeah.
But usually on the rim, not too much. And so Chris Bowman is helping out here. Mousse lube is an oil product, ? Dish or hand soap should clean it off and be gentle on the aluminum. And that's what I was going to say, is you're dealing with like an aluminum and sometimes these colored and anodized rims and stuff. So you got to be careful about what you're putting with it. So yeah, for sure. Like a good grease cutting. So it's a petroleum lubricant, or it's silicone. So it depends on which brand and what there is. I know people use all different kinds. Some of the mousse lube people use is soap. Mm-hmm. They use a soap, an oil soap.
Yeah.
So, don't ride down the road fast because then it all spooges out, leaks out, and then somehow ends up on the rim. Mousses are not meant to be pretty in any way, shape, or form. They're meant so you don't get tires. So thanks, Colin. Appreciate the help there. Jeremy, thanks for asking questions. Again, if you have questions for this show, leave them down in the comments and we will get back to them. You can always reach out by emails. We're not that hard to figure out on the emails things. Check out our JimmyLewisOffroad.com Learn to Ride series. Support us on Amazon and Rocky Mountain ATVMC links. We get a small slice of that. It really does help out. You can support by telling a friend, subscribing, doing all that stuff. Actually, I noticed we don't have very many subscribers. There's way worse shows that have way more subscribers. So push that subscribe button, I guess. We got to grow. Or our sponsors tell us, you don't have very many subscribers. Do you get that a lot, Matt?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah. They know that we're doing a good job here. So
yep.
I appreciate it. Again, I can't appreciate enough. Double take mirrors, bulletproof designs, seat concepts, Fasst Company, Trail Tech, DDC, Climb. I need to call Nate. I need to get some KTM 52 sprockets. Climb. Check out the hashtag Climb Life if you want to see people right now doing lots of crazy stuff on snow machines. Taco Moto, Scott Sports, and of course Yamaha, makers of the Yamaha T7, which should be available in a dealership near you right after my vlog series is done and they sell out again.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Matt, hey, thanks a lot for producing this one. Yes, it was a slightly different time. If you're watching this and you said I commented and they didn't even talk about it because it was a rerun, this may have been pre-recorded at an earlier date because Jimmy had to go out and eat a plate of shrimp. So with that, we will see you on the trail, and cheers.